Hello, book lovers. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in to another video. And what if you had to choose between two worlds, one promising community, the other individual freedom, but neither truly offering a life you can accept? This is the dilemma at the heart of The Square by Choi In-hun, one of Korea's most important literary works. Published in 1960, this novel captures the ideological struggles of a young man torn between North and South Korea. But beyond its historical significance, The Square still feels urgent today. So let's explore why. I'm reviewing the translation by Kim Song-gon. There was another translation of this book by the Fultons, but I haven't read that one. So this is from the Kim Song-gon translation. And Choi In-hun is one of Korea's most famous novelists and playwrights. He was born in 1936 in an area of the country which is now in North Korea, and he died. He died at the age of 82 in 2018. And this novel that we're talking about today, I forgot to pick it up actually. It's on the bookshelf over there. So it was published in 1960. And it was considered an instant classic for its portrayal of a young man ideologically adrift and, like I said, caught between North and South Korea. So Che is famous for drawing on his own experiences as a northern refugee in post-war South Korea. So he came down to the South as a refugee, and then, of course, after the war, couldn't return to the North. And some of the common themes in his novels are alienation, loss of identity, and the erosion of traditional values in 20th century Korean history. The Square remains his most celebrated work. It's been translated into English a couple of times and has been republished in Korean many times. So why is The Square such a celebrated novel? So the English translation of Che's novel provides English readers with an excellent opportunity to encounter one of the key texts of Korean literature. So The Square takes as its subject matter the ideological differences between North and South Korea. And in its depiction of a psychologically conflicted protagonist searching for an ideology he can live by, The Square is arguably one of the first modernist texts, or the very first modernist text in Korean war literature. And upon its original publishing in 1961, it ushered in a new perspective on the Korean War, as well as marking the point at which a new era began in the history of Korean literature. And the circumstances surrounding the publication of this novel are also very interesting. So, how did this novel arise from the political landscape of Korea in the late 1950s, early 1960s? So, significantly, the novel was published just a few short months after President Syngman Rhee's government was effectively overthrown by the April 19 student revolution in 1960. And were it not for the April Revolution, it is likely the novel would not have been published, and most definitely could not have been published under the Syngman Rhee administration during the 1950s. So this was an avowedly anti-communist regime, and this made it impossible to criticize the political system in the South or to praise the political system in the North. And for a short time after the April Revolution took place, and before it came sort of undone, there was this brief window in which the dominant ideologies of both North and South could be discussed, along with the possibility of a third way and what that might be. And it was during this brief window of opportunity that Che managed to publish The Square. So I've said that the novel discusses and critiques the different ideologies of North and South Korea, and even discusses a third way. So what is this? What is Che's critique here? So The Square delivers a sustained critique of Korean society blighted by the dueling ideologies of capitalism and communism. And to juxtapose the differing ideologies, Che uses the two conceptual metaphors of the square and the private chamber. So, broadly speaking, the square represents community, thereby representing the communist North Korean political system, whereas the private chamber represents individualism, thereby standing in for the capitalist South Korean political system. Che argues that both are vital aspects of a functioning society. In the preface to the 1961 edition, he writes that the square is indispensable to human lives. At the same time, humans cannot live without their own private chambers. What is important, Che argues, is being able to travel between the two and the experiences we have along the way. It is this journey between the square and the private chamber that Che sends his troubled protagonist on. So, who is this protagonist? Who is the young man at the center of the square? So, the disillusioned protagonist at the heart of Che's novel is Lee Myong-jun, a university student in the period just after the end of World War II. E is repeatedly harassed by the South Korean police. They believe him to be a communist sympathizer, as his father willingly crossed over into North Korea after the Korean Peninsula's liberation. So, struggling to reconcile the pervasive ideology of South Korea, the private chamber, with his own sometimes brutal reality, whilst at the same time jaded by an empty love affair, he decides to travel down to Incheon. So from here, he smuggles himself into North Korea, expecting to find his defector father living in a better society, the square. Instead, he finds his father living a life of privilege in a culture characterized by recrimination and self denunciation. Although, again, jaded by the strictures of the society around him, he nevertheless develops a nourishing relationship with a dancer called Eun-hae, whom he comes to love deeply. For a while, they find contentment in one another despite their surroundings, but their lives inevitably change when the Korean War breaks out and they're both conscripted in the war effort, him as a soldier, her as a nurse. Finally, taken prisoner at the Nakdongang River, upon the war's conclusion, E is pressured by UN troops to choose either North or South Korea to be released to. He instead chooses neither, insisting on a neutral country, and so he departs the Korean peninsula on a boat bound for a third land. And it's from here, on a boat traveling to India, that Che begins to recount E's story. So, what conclusions does Che come to in the novel, and what are its strengths? So, the novel ultimately indicates that Korean society needs to find a third way, a path that navigates between and ultimately transcends the entrenched ideologies in the North and South, or left and right, the square and the private chamber. Unfortunately, time and history have proven the square to be a remarkably prescient work of political philosophical fiction. In the 1989 preface, Che writes that Lee Myong-jun lives in my mind because I still live in the same political situation as his. Unfortunately, even now, perhaps, the differences between the square and the private chamber have not been resolved. South Korean society is caught between the entrenched views of left and right and the partisan arguments of progressives and conservatives. When Che speculated what future Lee Myong-jun would have imagined for Korean society, it is doubtful he would have imagined the one Korea is living at the moment. So, why should you read The Square? So, it's one of the most important books in Korean literature. It offers a rare critical look at both North and South Korea. It's a fascinating mix of philosophy, history, and human struggle. And if you're interested in Korean history, political literature, or modernist fiction, The Square is a must read. So, what do you think? Have you read The Square or other examples of Korean literature dealing with ideology and conflict? Do you think a third way is possible in today's Korea? And if you do, please leave a comment. If you've enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like it to support the channel, subscribe for more deep dives into Korean literature, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. As always, thanks for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video.